Trump recently chose who he wants to be the new border czar, and wow, just wow. This guy is great. He went in front of Congress and was getting grilled for supposedly wanting to separate families. In his response, you don't have to separate families. You can just deport the whole entire family, which is just the funniest thing that I have ever saw in Congress. It just needs a moment. It just needs a moment of appreciation because that's hilarious.
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
And he also said that since he is a taxpayer, he pays for Congress to operate, so they work for him, not the other way around, which is completely true and exactly what I would have said if I was in front of Congress. Just recently, he came out on the David Webb Show, and he said that thousands of people that were previously working for ICE that quit because they could not do their job now want to come back knowing that the grown-ups are back in charge and they will not lose their job for doing their job. He also said that the DOD could, quote, could be used to help relieve law enforcement officers from administrative duties so they can get on the street and do what they're supposed to be doing. He said, for instance, the DOD could be helping transportation, they could help ground transportation, they could help with air flights out, they could help with infrastructure building, and they could help with intelligence, things that don't require immigration authority. So if the DOD could help me out, great. Other agencies would love their help. A lot of people still don't feel comfortable with ICE working with police agencies to make sure criminals get deported. And for that, he says, I don't understand why a city or a state would not want to assist in removing public security threats from their community, removing national security threats from their community at all, he said. But I'll tell you this, if they do not want to help us, just get the hell out of the way because we're going to do it. Anyway, you're not going to stop us. It'll be great if law enforcement would want to work with us, but they don't have to. We're going to do it anyway. I love this guy already, and he didn't even start yet. So this guy is the exact guy that you need to do the job. The border czar should be fulfilled by a person, and you could just look at him and say, that's the guy. That's the guy right there that we need in that position because he knows exactly what he's doing. He has the face of not bullshitting around. He has the face of not playing around. This is a great guy. I cannot wait to see all of the things that he's going to do for America. I cannot wait to see all of the things that he's going to do to make our streets safer. Because if you do not remember, there's so many people that are immigrants that are coming into the country, breaking our laws, not respecting our rule of law, and just doing whatever the hell that they want. So they must either follow the laws, come through the country illegally, and then they can worry about getting things like the green card and stuff like that. Or what they can do is they can get deported. Once they get deported, they cannot come back because our wall would be up and we will make sure that nobody can come through illegally. We need to make sure that Border Patrol is right there. We need to make sure that they can actually do their job. They're not just waiters or waitresses bringing around food or bringing around cars and transporting people to a nearby facility where they will be processed and then set in within the United States. That's not going to happen under Trump. With that being said, let's dig in.
Facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
So digging right in, we have thousands of the story that I was just talking about, thousands of Border Patrol agents that formerly worked at the DOD now want to come back because they know the grown-ups are back in charge. President-elect Donald Trump's border czar, Homan, said during an interview on Tuesday that he has received thousands of messages from former border and immigration officials who want to return now that pro-law enforcement administration is getting ready to come back into power. Homan made the remarks during an interview with the David Webb on Sirius XM's The David Webb Show. When asked about what additional government resources he needs to carry out, Trump proposed mass deportations. A lot of guys retired early or left because they were not able to do the job they took the oath to do. So we need more manpower. The DOD has helped several administrations on the border. They could be a force multiplier. He noted that using manpower from the Pentagon does not mean that he will be sending the military into the United States cities and arresting people. Like I said before, the DOD could be used to help relieve law enforcement officers from administrative duties. I said this at the beginning. Obviously, he does not understand why the law enforcement would not want to be working with law enforcement. I agree with that. He said that in just the last 2 days, he has received thousands of texts and emails from retired Border Patrol agents, retired ACE agents, retired police officers, guys, you just got to get the military that want to come help. And so we got to see what we can do about bringing some more people on board, he added. And that's all going to depend on what kind of money we get when we're in there. But, we're going to get the job done. Despite the hate, we're going to get the job done. Despite the resistance, we're going to do the job. Despite their roadblocks, we're going to do the job. You're not going to stop us. So either join us or get out of our way. And I completely agree with that. He's not messing around. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And this is a very big difference here between what the border czar used to be, Kamala Harris, failure, and then we have an actual person that wants to get the job done, that cares about America, that cares about American cities, that cares about making our American cities and streets safer. That's the stark contrast between the two people. One cares, one does not care. You cannot teach care. You need to actually know care and know how to do the job. And also, knowing about doing the job here, FEMA is another completely different thing out of the water here. So, like we talked about the other day, FEMA has now been caught discriminating against Trump supporters and not going and relieving them and giving them the aid that they actually need just because of the fact that they have a Trump sign outside of their home, which is completely disgusting and a violation of our First Amendment right in America. The freedom of speech to like any government official that you like. Wait, what's the big deal? We had a Joe Biden sign outside the house. They're not going to treat you. They're not going to give you the aid that you need during a hurricane. Absolutely despicably disgusting. Now, FEMA blamed this employee and said that it was an isolated incident. To recap really, really quick here. Now, this employee has now spoken out and said that it was not an isolated incident. And they said that it was a colossal event of avoidance. So, the FEMA supervisor who was fired after the Daily Wire revealed that she directed disaster relief workers in Florida to avoid homes with signs advertising Trump, said on Tuesday that this was not an isolated incident, I should say, and is likely happening in disaster areas across the country. Marnie Washington said that FEMA has a widespread policy of avoiding politically hostile homes during an interview with Roland Martin. She said that FEMA's suggestion that she made an independent decision to avoid certain homes is miscategorization, stating that it is her agency's policy. FEMA always preaches avoidance first and then de-escalation. So this is not isolated, Washington said. This is a colossal event of avoidance, not just in the state of Florida, but you will find avoidance in the Carolinas. Senior leadership will lie to you and tell you that they do not know about this happening, Washington said. FEMA fired Washington on Saturday after the Daily Wire reported that whistleblowers said that she directed them verbally and in a group chat to avoid homes advertising Trump when canvassing the Highlands County, Florida. FEMA told the Daily Wire on Friday that the guidance was an isolated incident and not approved by the agency. I don't believe them. Like we talked about on Monday, the employee who issued the guidance has no authority and was given no direction to tell teams to avoid these homes, and we are reaching out to the people who have not been reached as a result of this incident, the 20 people. Washington said incident reports would substantiate incidents of avoidance because politically hostile. She asserted that there was a community trend of hostility coming from the people with Trump signs or flags in Lake Placid. She said that some examples of hostility included people saying things like, I don't like FEMA, you're a part of the Biden-Harris campaign, you guys are lying to the people, you guys are not helping people, which instead of you proving them wrong and saying, actually, we're here to help you, I know that you feel a certain way about this, but we want to put politics aside and we want to help you rebuild your home in this time of need. Convince them. Instead of convincing them, you're going to prove them right by ignoring them completely. I know you told me that I am fat and stupid, but I'm going to sit on this couch to prove you right. Like, what are you talking about? Like, can you make sense for 1 second? Like, your excuses make no sense. They called me names, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove them right by doing the exact thing that they called me. Like, what are you even doing? If somebody calls you fat, you're not going to eat a whole entire burger with 5 entrees inside of it in front of them. You're going to at least try to do this behind closed doors, which they did, but it resulted in something public. So, again, disgusting. I have no words. This is just so stupid. The response from FEMA is just the most stupid response I've ever saw. FEMA is very aware, quote unquote, of the incidents the incidents that took place, not just with my crew, but with all the crews in the States. Washington told Martin that her supervisors approved her avoidance for certain streets in Lake Placid, and she showed a text message that she says that was sent to a supervisor saying that the road was politically hostile and they're not conveying the street further. The supervisor reportedly responded, "Great decision. Thanks for the update." Federal and state investigators have launched into FEMA to probe its policies for providing aid. FEMA has not responded to allegations from Washington and did not immediately respond to comment for this article from the Daily Wire here. Of course, it just doesn't make any sense. Their excuses just make absolutely no sense. I just can't. I just can't. I do not like BS excuses. So please, save me the lies, FEMA. We do not believe you at all. So with that being said, we do have another article here. We have the Houthis launch attacks against the United States. So, of course, they're going to launch the attacks now and until January 20th because of the fact that they know that after January 20th, after Trump gets into the White House, there's going to be a major change into foreign policy and there will not be any messing around. Trump will not be messing around when it comes to foreign policy. Trump will not be messing around when it comes to any sort of policy whatsoever, and the Houthis know this. So the Houthis and everyone across the world will start attacking now before Trump gets in. So, the Houthi terrorist organization announced on Tuesday that it launched attacks against the United States warships that were transiting the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which I butchered completely. Pentagon Press Secretary Air Force Major General Pat Ryder told reports during a press conference that the Algerie broke glass guided the missile destroyer USS Stockdale and USS Spruce was attacked by at least 8 one-way attack uncrewed aerial systems, 5 anti-ship ballistic missiles, and 3 anti-ship cruise missiles that were successfully engaged and defeated. There was no damage of the ships and no personnel were hurt, thank God. The attacks from the Houthis came after United States forces conducted several precision airstrikes against facilities used by Iranian-backed terrorist group in Yemen over the weekend. These facilities housed a variety of advanced conventional weapons used by Iran-backed Houthis to target United States and international military and civilian vessels navigating international waters in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, Ryder said. The operation involved the United States Air Force and the United States Navy assets to include F-35C fighter aircraft. So yeah, the Houthis claimed in the statement that they have targeted a USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier with cruise missiles and drones and claimed that the attack was successful, even though there is zero evidence supporting these claims. Yeah, okay. So the Houthis over here are lying to themselves, whispering sweet little nothings into each other's ear to feel good about themselves, even though they absolutely did nothing. That's pathetic. Of course, they're going to sit here and they're going to lie because they cannot actually defeat America. They can't sit here and do their little one-way rocket against a nation with targeted missiles that could just blow up your missile with no problem at all. That's the funny part here. And also another funny part here is all of the people that Trump picked for key positions. So we have an AP article here. We have the Secretary of Defense being Pete Hegseth. The Kristi Noem being Secretary of Homeland Security, which, yeah, if we did have a Homeland Security Secretary, I would want it to be Kristi Noem, because if we do have anything happen to our homeland, then she has no problem actually firing her firearm at anything or anyone or any animal or anyone. She does not play around. She killed her dog straight up. So listen, don't mess with her at all. The White House consul is William McNee. The CIA director is John Ratcliffe. The special envoy to the Middle East is Stephen Witkoff. The Mike Huckabee is ambassador to Israel. Mike Walls, National Security Advisor. Susie Willis is the Chief of Staff. Tom Homan, which is the Border Czar, which we talked about earlier. Elsie Stanfritz is the United Nations Ambassador. Stephen Miller is the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. And Lee Zeldin is the Environmental Protection Agency. And Lee Zeldin did great in Florida, which I think thanks to Lee Zeldin, Trump got a little bit of an edge in New York because Lee Zeldin changed the demographic in New York a little bit now because he made people realize that you don't have to just vote for Democrat just because you always voted for Democrat. You can open your eyes a little bit. And Lee Zeldin almost won the governorship in New York, which would be so good. If Lee Zeldin won in New York, we would have almost all of our problems that we're complaining about right now in New York completely dissipate. Lee Zeldin is a powerful person, so I think that he would have got the job done immediately. But of course, they chose somebody else, and that somebody else that they chose ended up coming out and saying that black people do not know how to use computers for some reason. I just don't even know. We already talked about this, but Kathy Hochul is just ridiculous of a person for saying that. Just doesn't make any sense why somebody would go and say that. I just don't get Democrats. But with that being said, we're going to do it for this episode of the Demetrius Joe Show. If you did like this episode and you do want to see more, I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye.